Are you ready to take off but feel weighed down? Just like a plane can't soar with too much baggage, we can't grow when we're carrying fear and unforgiveness. That's where Fear and Forgiveness, a 16-day devotional and fasting journal, comes in. This book was created to help you release what's holding you back and move forward. Whether you use it as a standalone devotional or pair it with fasting, these 16 days will transform your heart, mind, and spirit. It's time to let go and rise higher. Grab your copy of Fear and Forgiveness today at barnesandnoble.com. Welcome to the G.L.O.E podcast, where we talk all things God, life, the ups and downs, organization, because chaos is not cute, and entrepreneurship, aka chasing those dreams. Here, we glow boldly and live purposefully. I'm your host, Angel, and around here, we keep it real, mixing faith, strategy, and a few laughs along the way. Whether you're trying to get your business together, organize your life, or just need a little motivation, you're in the right place. If you've been hanging around for a while, welcome back, and I hope you bought a friend. If you're new here, welcome. Get comfy and stay a while. Today, we are talking with Maria Grove. Maria has been on the podcast a couple of times before last year, and it was either 23 or 20. I think you were actually on here in 23, Maria, when I first started the show. So,
oh my gosh.
Wow. So, so it's been a little time since she has been on here, but Maria is back. I was on her podcast twice as well. We actually did a swap too, where I played my episode from her show on my show and vice versa. So, thought it would just be fun to have her back to chat and catch up with her and see what's going on since it's been longer than we actually thought it had been. So, welcome, Maria. How are you?
Oh, so great to see you. And we bonded over a love of Harry Potter
Yes.
and just being really amazing entrepreneurial women and so I'm just so glad to see your face.
Oh, yes, I'm glad to see your face too. And so you brought up Harry Potter. So I don't know if I've told you that I told you or not, but I finally accepted that I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay.
I
We can still be friends.
we can still be friends. I mean, well, so and my husband's a Hufflepuff and my son is a Gryffindor. So yeah, I haven't talked to him. So last year we went to Universal for spring break. And I think I told you that my husband and my son are both muggles. They don't watch it, but they were like interested in like what was going on and everything and seeing all the elements of Harry Potter world. And my son asked, he's like, well, what house are you? And I was like, I'm Gryffindor. My husband said, no, she's actually Ravenclaw. She just doesn't want to admit it. I was like, no, I'm not, giving him the whole rundown of what the sorting hat tells you. And I was like, you're a muggle anyway. So your opinion of what I am does not count. He said, okay, we're going to take the quiz one more time. And whatever you get on the quiz, that's what you are. You're going to accept it. He was like, deal. I was like, fine. So I took the quiz again. And for the 1800th time, it told me that I was Ravenclaw. So I was like, okay, great. I'm going to accept now that I'm a Ravenclaw. So I have fully embraced it. I got like the little pop socket Ravenclaw. I got some socks now.
It's important to embrace who you are.
It really is. It really is important to embrace who you are. And I'm actually I'm happy that I have accepted that now. Build-A-Bear, I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but they were doing where you get like the stuff, the different Harry Potter bears and stuff
yeah,
from,
yeah,
from
yeah.
there. So I got a Raven. I did kind of laugh though, because they didn't have the honey badger for Hufflepuff. My husband was like, where's Hufflepuff? I was like, that's what you get, sir.
Hufflepuff is never represented.
That's what the lady at home, the lady who worked at Build-A-Bear said. She's like, it's not fair. We're never represented. Me and my boyfriend are both Hufflepuff, and we can just never find anything that's Hufflepuff related. I was like, oh. So
Whenever I tell people I'm a Hufflepuff, they're always like, yeah. Like there's never even a question. There's just like,
yes.
yep, like we totally get that. Like
Yeah,
you're a Hufflepuff. It's fine.
it is. It's
Actually,
fun.
one time we went to Universal and we took the kids and they my youngest, who's 16 now, I guess she was probably about 14 at the time,
Mm.
she dressed up. She's a Gryffindor and she
Okay.
dressed up as her character in Harry Potter, which is Wolfie, which is a half wolf, half girl who goes to who goes to Hogwarts.
Okay.
And so she had a tail and her long blue hair and she had her Gryffindor uniform on and people stopped her and were like, you're like, oh, are you a character from the show? She's like, no, this is my own character.
I love it. I love it. that you have to, like you said, you have to embrace who you are, and I love that she just went as her own thing, and she's like, I don't care what anyone
Yes,
else
no,
is
she wasn't
thinking about that.
Hermione. She's never been Hermione. She's Wolfie.
Yes, and I'm perfectly fine. And like, even though I love Harry Potter, Ron, Hermione, and Harry are not even my favorite characters in the movie, in the books, or anything like that. Neville and the twins are like my top three favorite characters. When we went, I got Neville's wand because that's who.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And for me, it's Luna Lovegood. Like, I just like, just be who you are, embrace who you
yes.
are, and other people will embrace you. I mean, she's such a great character.
She is. She really is. And I think I like Neville because he's an underdog, and Luna is an underdog as well, but she's so confident in her being an underdog, and she's an amazing character.
Yeah,
So I'm
absolutely.
proud to be a Ravenclaw with Luna now.
Oh, I know.
And
No,
I'm also very glad that I didn't buy, like, because I wanted to get robes when I was there. My husband's like, no, there's this other outfit that I wanted to get, and I didn't get it. So now I am glad that I didn't get it, since I finally accepted, who I am.
who you
So
are. It's important.
yes,
It's
it
important.
it
And
is very important. So we could talk about Harry Potter all day. I know people are probably like, what the heck
these two
is
crazy
going on
people.
here? But oh, one more side note though. I do want to go back to Universal again because I heard that the Death Eaters come out between like the 1st of September and the end of October. So I'm like, I have to go back when the Death Eaters are there. And also I think they're building like a new part of Harry Potter world in Universal too. And I think it's supposed to be ready in like May or June. So I have to go back
Very
for that
cool.
as well.
Very cool.
Yes. Yeah. So Maria, what have you been up to since we last officially talked on the podcast in 2023?
Well, I still have my organizing business.
Okay.
I see a couple of clients a month. I'm in the middle of doing a organization immersion, which is a 12-month program. And basically it's a monthly Zoom and a newsletter and a home visit. And
Hmm.
the idea is to like a whole year of transformation. And really just focus in on the rooms that you want to focus in on, and it's education. I
Okay.
found that I was giving a lot of workshops at libraries, and I
Okay.
was, packing them in, and I still continue to. I have a couple on the horizon, and I found that I really liked doing that. Like, it was really exciting to give a presentation and to talk and everything. And so that sparked my interest, and I'm thinking about launching a YouTube channel this year,
Ooh,
so
okay.
that I can kind of do all things. I can go through all of my presentations, and that's like 7 episodes.
Okay.
um and then I can start like doing smaller things around the house or other people's houses, and all things kind of organization and habits. And then the other thing that I'm doing, Angel, is that I'm in the process of becoming a life coach,
Oh,
because
okay.
I found that when I was working with my clients, there's such a component in organization when you're working with clients about habits and life coaching just in general. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not a therapist. I never studied psychology in college. Like, that was not my thing. But I'm there working with people to fundamentally change how they operate in their homes. And so I found this amazing program. I'm going to be a life coach in June. When I finish my program, I'll be certified, and then I can start offering like habit building and organization and things like that to really get people on the right track with their organization.
Okay. I love that how everything's kind of coming together and falling into place. So with your YouTube channel, would it be paid content, or would it just be out there for everyone to see, or just like exclusive type of content?
It's out for I would like it to be for everybody to see, and
Okay.
especially the producers at HGTV, so they give me a television show.
Yay, yay. Okay. So now, Maria, listen, if you get on HGTV, you gotta like come organize my house or invite me or something like that. Like, we
Right,
love
right. No,
H.
you're
Yes.
my first guest. You're my first
Yeah, perfect. Like, we love HGTV, and I would like love to be on HGTV. So let me know what I need to do to help you make this happen so we can both get there.
I will personally invite the producers of HGTV on every episode.
Yes, we've gotta get them out there. So yeah, that would be cool. I don't think honestly, I don't think they have anything like that on HGTV Do you know if they do or
No,
not?
they had one show for 2 seasons called Hot Mess House, which was
Okay.
Cass Larson. She does the Clutterbugs,
Yes, yes.
and I know you've done extensive
Hmm.
discussion of the Clutterbug theory.
Yes.
And, I really like Cass, and it was a great show, and second season, she got a carpenter, and she worked on bespoke projects, and it was really
Mhm.
great, and then they just canceled the show. And it's so funny, it's like we don't need another show about flipping houses. We could actually really use a show about how to fundamentally change your house from the
I agree.
outside in.
I agree.
Um,
I can't take another house flipping
oh my
show
god,
at this point.
I didn't even watch those shows. Like,
I
um,
yeah.
I watch the design shows. I get a lot
Mhm.
of ideas. I try to watch the DIY shows so I can learn how to do certain things. Um, but the house flipping, I'm like, ugh, ugh.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I cannot do
It
any
just doesn't speak
house.
to me. It's not my thing. But like when Cass had her show, it was like must see TV for me. It was, it was learning. It was for me as an organizer, and she's just wonderful. But also the things that she could create, it really gave me some inspiration.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be great. The flipping shows have definitely been, excuse my language, but hoard out. Like it's just at this point, it's ridiculous. We have flipping everywhere and I'm over it. The DIY shows I have to be careful with because I'll get myself in trouble and I'll start trying to do DIY stuff all around the house
Yep,
and
yep.
coming up with all kind of projects. I think I have like a mental list of a whole bunch of projects that I want to do. I've been trying to convince my husband for the past couple of months to for us to do a new kitchen sink. And he's like, "Do you know how to install a kitchen sink?" I said, "No." But I also did not know how to fix a dryer. And I went on YouTube and I figured it out. So I'm pretty sure I can figure this kitchen sink out. Like I pulled them up on Amazon and I sent them to him. He's pretty much ignored me on those. But so that's my my project I'm working on right now. It's a new kitchen sink.
You can
But
absolutely do a kitchen sink. It's just about poking it in and getting the plumbing right. I mean, you can absolutely do that. I mean,
I'm really tempted to just like go to Lowe's one day and get the sink, and then he comes home and I'm like, "Hey, look at the new,
look
look
what
what
I did.
yeah,
Just
look what
measure.
I
Just
did
measure.
here."
That's the only
Yeah,
thing I can recommend is like measuring twice, three
right.
times, making sure that you have the appropriate measurements. Don't eyeball it.
Oh no, no, no,
Don't
no.
do girl math with your arm.
No, I have like 3 I have we have at least 4 measuring tapes in this house. 3 of them I don't know where they are. One of them I have hidden so that I actually know where it is. So yeah, I can definitely measure and I can go pick out a sink. So very tempted to do that, Maria, but I definitely like the idea. And you would think that HGTV would have something along those lines of organizing. So yes, we're getting you on HGTV. I'm
That's,
claiming it.
manifesting, putting it out there in the
Yes,
world.
putting it out.
I think it starts with a YouTube channel so you can just start giving your knowledge,
Mhm.
show your value. Um,
Right.
People start following you,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. And then, just never know what's gonna happen
Right.
when and I love doing the short videos for my Instagram feed. And so I figured I just start doing a little bit more long form videos for YouTube. Um,
Okay.
and it's like I said, I've got so many workshops that I can just give and just like sit and give the workshop, and that enables people to have that knowledge and everything. And I can use my props and I can use things on the screen. Like I have to learn how to edit. That's a huge big deal for me.
Yes.
I want to add music. I want to edit. I'd like this to look nice and professional, but like that's my goal. Like I'm trying to launch that this year. And then the
Okay.
other thing I'm trying to launch is that for the longest time I've wanted to open a brick and mortar store.
Yes, I remember that.
Right. And we've talked about this. And
Mhm.
I think it's the next step in the organizing business. Having a brick and mortar store selling home decor items and home organization items, just being able to interact with my customers as they come in. If they buy a bowl, I can tell them how to use that bowl for organization. And then they think of me as an expert. And then when they check out, I give them a little flyer about my in home services. And then, bam, I'm off to the races doing even more in home.
Right.
It's like building on itself. So that's a goal of mine, is to really grow the organizing business as best I can.
Okay, it sounds like you kind of have everything set up. You just have to start making moves towards it. But I think it kind of sounds like everything's just falling into place a little bit here, and like you'll be on your way soon. I know editing is definitely a pain in the butt. That's why I haven't gone to a YouTube channel. People keep like, "Oh, you should do a YouTube channel." But I'm like, that requires me editing video, and I struggle enough editing audio as it
Yep.
is. And I'm not adding video in and trying to. I was like, if I end up doing a YouTube channel, you will literally get all the bloopers, all the everything. Like what you see, what happened on camera would literally be what you get because
What did you spill out onto YouTube?
yeah, that would be what you get. If I coughed in the middle of a sneeze, I'm just not ready to step into that branch of video editing, and I don't know if I ever will be. So kudos to you, Maria, for wanting to learn that and thinking about like taking all of that on. So
Well, they say that a, a a goal is just a dream until you write it down.
sure.
And so, a couple of years ago, like maybe 2 years ago now, Brene Brown, who is an author, came up with this list called 23 Things in 23.
Mhm.
So instead of one New Year's resolution or going ahead and like using a word for your year, you know, she wrote down 23 things she wanted to do in 2023.
Oh,
And I was so moved by it that I started doing that. And then I did it in 24, and now I've done it again in 25. And so I do 25 things in 25. So
oh.
these are like my top things. So it's things like meditate 4 times a week, take my dog on walks with my weighted vest, get a colonoscopy because here we are. This is the
Yeah.
year. So like little mini goals, like habits that I want to establish, bigger things that I want to do. Um, and one of the things on my list for 25 is start a YouTube channel.
Okay. I like that. I don't think you may have told me about this before. I'm not sure. I know that I'm currently in the process. I turn 40 next year. And so I'm doing like my 40 before 40 bucket list. And at first I had like all these things on there. And I was like, okay, Angel, you need to scale it back a little bit because most people start the like 40 before 40 bucket list when they're like 35, 36 or something like that. I was like, you literally waited until you had less than a year. So some of the stuff you might have to like knock off and put on like your 45 before 45 list. But
I
I
love that.
actually, yeah, like just knock it off. But I like the idea of doing like 25 things for 25 list because it kind of gives you a little bit more time to maybe prepare for it because you're probably already thinking about it ahead of time and you know where you want to go. And more than likely something that was on your list the year before is possibly going to help with what comes to the future. So that may be something that I do next year. I may do a 26 for 26 list.
Yeah.
I like
Like
that.
I had like certain things about like remodeling pieces of my house or improving pieces of my house, or read 5 books this year.
Mhm.
And 5 books, like I'm already at 3 books.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And I'm just going to keep monitoring and like in throughout the year figure out how many books I've read that year. Like the goal is to read more and to be
Right.
more involved in that. And in fact I will say we're recording this the day after the Super Bowl. And so my boyfriend called me during the Super Bowl and he's like, "Oh, girl, are you watching the Super Bowl? It's awesome." And I'm like, "No, I'm reading." And he's like, "You're reading during the Super Bowl?" And I was like, "Yep, what do you see in me?" Like
Right. It's like, what? What?
we are really mismatched because you are thrilled about the Super Bowl. These even aren't even your teams. You're just watching it because it's the Super Bowl.
Super right.
And I'm all like reading a book, drinking some wine,
Yeah. So
having the best life ever.
I didn't watch the Super Bowl either. Like we're Jets fans, so our team's literally never in the Super Bowl. And so some years I will watch it just because we like football and I'll watch it, I'll pay it attention. And then last night I was like, oh, I don't really feel like watching. I was like, the Chiefs have already won 2 years in a row. They're probably going to end up winning again, whatever. I was like, I would prefer for the Eagles to win. But I'm doing a webinar on Wednesday that's coming up. Who knows when this episode will air? But on this Wednesday after the Super Bowl, I have a webinar coming up. And so I needed to finish like my slides and stuff for that. So I was up here working on my slides. Now I will say that I am watching the halftime show. I was watching it right before we got on, and then I paused it. And I think I have about 5 or 6 more minutes left of it to watch. So I will finish watching that because I do, even if I don't watch the game, I do usually try to at least watch the halftime show because they're usually pretty good at entertaining. And I like Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it was
I
amazing.
didn't get to watch it last night because I was just completely in a zone with trying to get that done. So I was like, well, let me go and check that out. But you have to tell me what 3 books you read because that's on my list is to read 40 books before I turn 40. And I've read one. I know. Go big or go home.
So I read a Buddhist book. So I'm
Okay.
practicing Buddhist, and I read a Buddhist book this January called When Things Fall Apart.
Okay.
And it was incredibly good, and there were some nuggets of wisdom and just really interesting. The other book that I read was Worthy by an author named Jamie Kerr Lima, I think her name
Okay.
is. She was the founder of It Cosmetics.
Hmm.
And then she sold her brand and became like this motivational speaker, and she's this author. And Worthy is a book about like finding your worthiness. Like people give away their peace and their value, and they forget how worthy they are, like in relationships or at work or just in everything. And it was a really easy book to read. I just plowed right through it, really beautiful. And then I sent it to my friend. I literally just popped it in the mail, and I was like, you have to read this.
I've done that before too. I'm about to add this to my list right now. And what's the third one?
Well, the third one I just finished this morning. It's called When in French. And
Okay.
it's a memoir about a woman from North Carolina who meets a French man in London, and then they move to Paris. And it's about her learning how to speak to him in his language.
Hmm.
And so it's her becoming like a full French citizen, but
Oh,
learning, like speaking, going from zero French to fluent French in just a couple of years.
wow.
It's a beautiful book. It's filled with like a lot of really interesting information about language and where language comes from, and some French history, and just really interesting. But the reason that I picked it up was this fall my daughter and I went to New York City, and we did a book tour of New York City. She is a crazy book girl. I call her a book dragon, and she wanted to do some bookstores. So we went to the New York Public Library, we went to the Strand, and then we went to the Albertine. And the Albertine is in the French consulate on the
Mhm.
Upper East Side. And it's a French language bookstore. It's beautiful. It's like a must see. You have to go. There's like frescoes on the wall and some gorgeous paintings and everything. It's like the most gorgeous bookstore you've ever been in. And it's on all these lists in New York to visit. And
Okay.
this book was in English, but it's about speaking in French. So they do have some English language books. But funny enough, Angel, while we were there was a whole display of Harry Potter in French. And it was
See.
so funny. I picked it up and I was like, this is weird. Like, because French is not my language. Like English is my language, and I don't speak another language, and it really is a problem for me. I'd love to learn French. But it was just so funny. I just picked up these books and I was like, this is amazing. All these little French people reading French books.
Right. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. And I saw your post that you posted the other day with like your daughter's stack of books like stacked up on her nightstand or something. I'm like, yes, that is my kind of girl right there.
Yeah, no,
I love it.
my daughter is 16. She's in 3 AP classes. She's talking about college. She's a junior in college. She wants to go to school for nursing and psychology.
Okay.
But she was actually born with a learning disorder. She has a little bit of dyslexia. And what's fascinating is that she's just an avid reader, and
Mhm.
she's come up with ways to kind of figure out how to trick her brain into reading well, even though she has a little bit of dyslexia.
Right.
And it's 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 fascinating, and she just loves books. And so when we were in New York a couple of months ago in September, actually, she picked up The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and
Mm.
she's like, "Oh, I've wanted to read this." I'm like, "What? Like The Bell Jar? Like, is that what we're doing right now?" And like, where's your YA mystery,
Right.
romance, and
Yeah.
no, she went straight to The Bell Jar. And then the other day she picked up a copy of The Great Gatsby because they're not reading it this year and she wanted to read it.
Wow. Wow.
She's
Okay.
yeah, she's incredible. She's incredible.
That was me when, like, I was in high school, college, everything, like, how you said your boyfriend was like, "You're reading and the Super Bowl's on." I mean, that was literally me. I would rather read than to watch TV or anything like that, and I would get engrossed in a book because I used to be, like, a really fast reader, like, talking about Harry Potter. The final Harry Potter book is what, like, over 800 pages, and I read it in probably, like, 2.5 days, and people are like, "What?" Because I would sit there and I would, like, read my books, I'm focused in on it, I would get into a good book. I would barely stop to, like, eat or go to the bathroom or anything like that. I was the person that's just like, "Ooh, one more chapter," and now it's 4 a.m. And, I'm like, "Oh, well, I only have 100 pages left. I might as well go ahead and finish that." I was reading this book the other day called Pieces of You. I found out about it from one of my podcasts that I listen to, and it's like a thriller mystery type book, and it was really good. And so I started reading, I think Wednesday or Thursday. I finished it Saturday night. I thought that it had 244 pages in it for some reason. When I was reading, I was on page like 164, and I was like, I can go ahead and finish, these last few pages. When I'll finish this 244. And so as I get into towards the 200s, I look and I'm like, oh, it's actually like 260 something pages. I said, well, I'm here now. It was like 9:15 at night. I was like, I'm
I'm
here
beginning.
now. Yeah, it's like, well, who wants to stop with like 40 pages left? Because that's when they're getting ready to wrap it up. And I was like, I can't stop here. So I stayed up until a little after 11 to finish the book. And like, that's just me when I get into a book, like I'm into it. I don't want to stop. So I completely relate to her and understand where she's coming from.
Yeah, no, she like I said, I call her a book dragon. She has probably about 20 books stacked up into her nightstand, and she'll read them all. She'll read them all. She's amazing. And I was never a huge reader. My mom was a big reader. She was always reading a book, and I mean, I can read. I know how to read. I have
I
I
hope
have
so.
I have read books before. But
Right.
in the last few years, I've really made a concerted effort, and that's what it is about starting a new habit, is that
Mhm.
you have to make it attainable, you have to make it time sensitive, like a SMART goal kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
And so, like, I challenged myself last year to read 10 books, and I didn't do that. And so this year I challenged myself to read 5 books, and I'm already at 3.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, I have all these books stacked up next to my bedside table, and I want to read them. And I'm also diversifying with listening to some books too, because I have a long commute for work. So I can go through an 8-hour book in a week.
Okay. Yeah. I've tried audiobooks, but I'm very picky about them because it's the same when like I listen to a podcast. If I don't like the voice, like I can't listen to someone that's monotone. If you're
Mhm.
monotone, I can't do it. And then when I'm reading a book, if I'm well, not reading a book, but like I've listened to a couple of audiobooks and I guess I need to lower my expectations maybe too, because based on like the title of the book, I'll have like an expectation of how I think the person's voice is supposed to sound. If it doesn't sound like that, I'm like, oh no, I can't do this. So I've done a couple of them. I haven't done a lot of them. And my husband, when I was telling him about my 40, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, well, where's your Kindle at? I said, it's around here somewhere, but I haven't used that thing in years. I don't even know if it'll charge. He's like, well, you have the app. He said, why don't you just like download the app again? I was like, no, I want an actual physical book to hold in my hand and read it. And he said, and then once you're done with it, we're just gonna have all these books laying around
Mhm.
the house. One, nothing is wrong with that. But I was like, two, I may just like pass the book on to someone else once I finish it because I was we went on a cruise last year and I actually read a whole book while we were on the cruise because when we weren't doing anything, I would just go and sit on like the top deck and read my book. And there was this lady who kept passing by me and she said, must be a really good book because I've seen you like 5 times and each time you have that book in your hand. She's like, so it must be really good. I was like, it is. So Sid, it's so great. As I was telling her what the book was about. And when she passed me, then I was almost done reading the book. I think I had like 50 or 60 more pages to go. So after I finished reading it, I went over and I found her because she had said where they were sitting. I was like, oh, I hope she's still over there. And I went over there and I gave her the book to read. She's like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "It's a really good book." And I said, "You sound like you were interested in it when I told you about it." I said, "So here, take it." And she's like, "Oh my gosh." She's like, "Thanks." She said, "I'll pass it along when I finish with it." So yeah, I like to hold my books.
Well, so going back to organizing, so I love Marie Kondo. I love her shows. I've read all of her books. It's very important. But she has been known to say that you should only own 30 books. And yeah, it's crazy to me because I would never ask somebody to get rid of their books.
No,
Um, I am a book lover. I have two different hobbies. I like book shopping and I like book reading, and those are not the same hobby.
they're not. They are definitely not. Nope, not at all.
And so when I work with clients and they have an abundance of books, we try to organize them. We try to um you honor them, put
Right.
them in a bookcase, put them neatly, arrange them in a certain way, whether that's color coded or whether that's by genre or alphabetical or whatever the preference is, you can do these books. And I practice that in my own home. I have in my bedroom a big bookcase and it has all of my books from my life.
Right.
And what was really amazing was the other day, my daughter was looking for a particular subject to write about.
Mhm.
She's like, I need something like a human experience, but I don't, like in a certain era, and she was being very vague. And I'm like, well, let's consult the books.
Yeah.
And so I gave her three options of books from my collection. I said, you can look at this book about Pompeii, the fall of Pompeii. You can look at this book about the Spanish influenza after World War One, or you can dive into this biography of Patty Hearst. And I don't know if you know who Patty Hearst was, but she was an heiress that was kidnapped in the 1960s, and her parents didn't pay the ransom. So she became radicalized and actually robbed banks with the people who kidnapped her.
Oh,
She's a fascinating character.
now this sounds kind of familiar. Like maybe I heard it on a true crime
Yeah,
podcast before,
no,
but I don't know. But is that Patty with an I or Patty with the Y?
I think it's with an I. I could consult my book.
Okay,
Um,
I'm gonna
but
Google it
but
after we
Patty
finish.
Hearst is an amazing person. Like she's fascinating. In the end, my daughter chose the Spanish influenza to write her little mini paper on. But then she grabbed the Patty Hearst book and put it on her pile, and she's like, this girl is next.
Yes, I don't. I mean, first of all, like I said, I saw your daughter's pile, and on that pile, I think if she does not have 30 books in that pile, she has very close to 30 books
Right?
in
Yeah,
that
I think
pile.
it's about 30.
Yeah, and then also like just thinking about my books. So with my Harry Potter book collection alone, I'm almost halfway to 30 because I have all 7 of the books like the original ones and then also I have books 1 through 5 the illustrated copies of them. So that's already 12 books that
Right.
I'm at right there. I'm obviously not getting rid of Harry. That's just a no-no. And then not to mention the books that I have that are like a series or something like that. So yeah, more
Yeah.
clearly, she's never
No,
seen
I
Beauty and the
I
Beast.
just would never ask anybody to get rid of books.
Oh,
Books are so personal. They really show your journey. Like they show who you were in college and what you were interested in. They show what you're interested in now and what's important to you and what's interesting and what challenges your imagination and 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 I would just never tell anybody that they got one bookcase and they could fill up the bookcase. Like get another bookcase. Like it's
right.
fine.
That just really bothers me. I probably have like a whole box also filled with books from when I was younger. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Alice series by Phyllis Reynolds Nyler, but I had pretty much all of the Alice books. I did eventually. I probably maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I went through those and I passed them along to one of my nieces. I sent those off to her, and I was like, okay, I'll pass these along. And then I was also obsessed with VC Andrews. There was several of her, and I don't know if you've ever heard of VC Andrews or not.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
that book
okay,
that
okay.
terrified me when I was in middle school.
Okay, so I had several of
Still have
her.
trauma dreams about it.
I have several of her series of books. When I mean like several, and her series would be like 4 or 5 books. So I know that I probably have at least 5 or 6 of those series of her books lying around, all in a box somewhere. So no, I'm not following this 30 book rule. I refuse.
Well, if you ever did want to get rid of books, there are responsible ways to do that.
Right.
And one is passing them along to somebody who you think might enjoy them. I read a book now and I say, is this something worth keeping in my collection,
Right.
or should I send it off to somebody? I like that When in French book, that's going right to my friend who actually married her husband from Mexico, and they speak fluent Spanish to each other. And I thought that it was such a fascinating kind of coincidence or common story for her to read, and so I thought I'm going to send that to her. So you can send it off to people that you think might be interested, but
Yes.
most libraries have like friends of the library book sales, and so you can donate your books to libraries and then they sell them to people who are interested in buying used books, and then that money goes back to the library. So you're actually supporting your public library by donating your books.
Okay. I have heard of Friends of the Library. I've never done that before, but I definitely, next time I do a book purge or something along those lines, I will definitely have to look into that. If it's not something that I'm going to pass on, I'll definitely look into that. So thanks, Maria.
Yeah, of course.
So we have chatted about just about everything and catching up, but one thing that I wanted to chat about is you used to be a podcast host and you have let go of Bliss This House. Why? What happened with the podcast? What made you come to that decision, and how did you feel about it?
So most podcasters, there's a thing that says, there's a stat that says most podcasters don't make it past 3 months.
Mm,
I made it over a year.
okay.
I was really pleased with the podcast. I really enjoyed it. I had a system where every other week was a guest, and every other week was me doing like teaching and learning and that kind of thing, and just talking. Um, to be honest with you, I started a new job in February and I work full time, and I'm in the process of trying to figure out like if I want to stay at that job and grow my business or what. But the podcast was just getting too difficult. I was
Mm,
having to do the recordings at 7 p.m. because I couldn't do them at the office, and I was having trouble like booking guests, and I think it just got really difficult
I got you.
to organize. And you and I have talked about like content calendars and
Mhm.
how best to organize your business and that kind of thing. And I had a content calendar that was 2 years in advance. I was ready to go. It was just a matter of the time that I needed to put into the podcast. And I am not like you. I hired an editor, so she was a VA who was very good at editing podcasts. And so I would record the podcast. She would get the recording. She would add the bumpers, the intro and the outro, and she'd add music. And sometimes I'd say like, about the 20-minute mark, this guest starts rambling about something. Let's cut that out,
Mhm.
or whatever. Um, I only had to do that twice. For the most part, I just aired the podcast as they were, and so it was just it was a matter of just difficulty and timing. I
Mhm.
really like the podcast. I'm a podcast consumer, so I definitely wanted to have a podcast, and I thought it was very useful. And I was like rated number 5 in Australia
Oh,
for home
congratulations.
and home podcasts, home related podcasts. I have no
Yeah.
idea how I got so big in Australia. Like, what happened? Like
There, there's your market.
all these people, like, I'm obviously moving to Australia immediately.
Yes.
But I got that notification from Apple Podcasts, like, you're rated number 5 in Australia. I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
That's so random, but it's also super cool.
It was crazy. So it was just a passion project of mine, and it was going really well. But at the end of the day, Angel, it wasn't building my brand. And as a
Gotcha.
small business owner, you have to be like, you have to focus on the things that are going to make you money and build your
Mhm.
brand. And I didn't um monetize my podcast. I really wanted to have it out and available. And as a podcast consumer, I know what I like listening to. And I don't like listening to all the ads before a podcast. And
Yes.
so I kept that away. And similarly, I've never monetized my blog.
Mm.
And so I like to be able to offer those to people so people can take screenshots and be like, "Oh yeah, I can use that tip," or whatever. But at the end of the day, the podcast just wasn't making me any money, and not one client ever came to me and said, "I heard your podcast."
Okay.
So it was fun. It was great. I loved doing it. I loved the content that I was putting out there, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't building my business.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, it is still like out there it is still like out there on Apple and everything. I believe that I saw it like
Oh
recently.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
there's
out
like
there.
okay.
It's my Spotify on my phone actually reminds me every week to listen to my podcast, and I'm like, "It's down. I haven't put out a podcast in months."
Hey, don't
Like,
listen to your own
people listen
podcast.
to Maria Grove's podcast. I'm like, Jesus.
That is hilarious. I thought sorry, that's hilarious. I thought that I still saw it like out there on the podcast as I know there are no new
Yeah, no,
episodes, but
Spotify is trolling me with my own podcast.
everyone make sure you go out and check out Maria's podcast, even though she has not updated. When was the last time you put out an episode for like January or February of
Yeah,
2024?
yeah, probably about a year ago.
Okay.
But it is out there, and I
Yeah.
had many episodes, and like certain things like talking about the best organizing books, and then some
Yes.
really amazing guests like you, Angel, and
Thank you.
it was really exciting. I did all of my workshops as podcasts as well. So if you're interested in how to deal with paper clutter, how to organize a
Mhm.
kid's room, um,
Yeah.
goal setting for the new year, all those kinds of things. I did all those podcasts.
Yes, she did. So y'all can definitely go out there and check that out since Spotify is trolling Maria about listening to her own podcast. You guys need
Pops up on Spotify from time to time. And I'm like, what the heck? This is too early for this podcast.
you guys go check out Maria's podcast, Bliss This House Home Organization to get your podcasting tips. So oh my gosh, Maria, it has been so fun chatting with you. Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
No, I'll just say that I'm so proud. Thank you so much for asking me on the podcast again. When we've talked in the past, you've given me tremendous tips on entrepreneurship and organizing my business.
Thank you.
I definitely encourage your listeners to take Angel's advice. I mean, she digs deeply into CRMs and other issues of what an entrepreneur is looking at. And she's very knowledgeable. So I definitely want to thank you for our friendship and for all the tips you've given me over the years we've known each other.
Oh my gosh, Maria, thank you so much. That is so sweet of you and so kind of you. And I really appreciate it. You're gonna make me emotional over here. I'm already an emotional basket case. Emotional over here, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I am so looking forward to you being on HGTV. And I told you before that I was looking forward to your brick and mortar shop because I'm gonna have to make a trip up there and bring like my empty suitcase to put all the stuff
Right,
in for it.
we ship, Angel, we ship.
We should, okay, man. Okay, okay. We'll go with shipping then. All right, sounds good. So I'm looking forward to that. And then maybe you'll move to Australia or something like that, and I can come visit you in Australia. And you can, or you can open like another store in Australia or something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm huge in Australia.
Right.
Get me a koala bear. I'm ready to go.
Let's do this, Maria. Let's do this. So how can everyone connect with you and keep up with all that you have going on and all that's coming down the pipeline in 2025?
So I'm on Instagram the most. I would say the best way to reach me is Instagram, which is blissThisHouse_CT.
Okay.
blissThisHouse_CT, because I'm in Connecticut. So I do virtual organizing though. We can hop on a Zoom call and I'll walk you through everything that you need to do. Virtual organizing is actually quite effective. So if you live in Australia, if you live in North Carolina, wherever you find yourself, if you're looking for a coach and an organizer, I'm your girl.
All right, awesome. And I will definitely get that linked into the show notes as well. So, well, Maria, thank you so much. As always, it has been a pleasure chatting with you. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. And we will be chatting again soon.
All right. Thanks, Angel. I really appreciate you.
Anytime.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. That's it for today's episode of the G.L.O.E podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're walking away with something that fuels your journey. And remember, glow boldly, live purposefully, and I'll talk to you next time. Y'all know I run on coffee, and so does the show. If you want to keep the episodes flowing, head over to buymeacoffee.com/themodcosc. Whether it's a one-time boost or monthly support, every cup helps keep this podcast going.